Well, in that case, all right, I'd like to call to order the Thursday, January 11th, 2024 meeting of the Monona Sustainability Club Committee. Like we have ears like Mickey Mouse. Yeah, there we go. All right, so Thor, you've got the rule. We do have a quorum. Is there a motion to approve the minutes from our December 14th meeting?
I looked those over. I'll make the motion.
Excellent. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second, are there any changes that we need to make? Anything that anyone saw that requires any sort of change?
Ashley had one that she sent over, just that, it was. When I said who had proposed, we look at a winter salt use ordinance, I wrote person instead of Ashley.
Got it.
That was-
Got it. Are there any more things that should be changed on the record? Do we need a motion to approve the amended minutes?
Yeah, I'll
Really
move.
motion
to
for
approve
the-
minutes, Let's say.
Okay. So all in favor of approving the minutes as amended, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. All right, great. So there are no appearances tonight. Under unfinished business, we just want to talk about the upcoming Sustain Dane all around Dane County event. It's coming together really nicely. The Sustain Dane folks have put out some advertising, some evites. Thor and I will continue to work with them to make sure it gets properly promoted. I also have an example of, Thor, do you have the example of the graphic? Maybe you could pull it up.
I have the flyer.
Thor will pull that up and show it to everyone, just so that we can understand what that looks like, and then perhaps ask folks to share it through your own social media outlets, right? There it is. When we last met, we had kind of struggled to land on a date that would work for everyone, and I was on vacation and emailing and texting back to Thor because we just didn't want to delay it anymore. And at the end of the day, it all kind of came down to what date was best for our speakers. So we just really don't want to host an event if no one can present. So that's what we landed on, the 15th of February, and we're hopeful that Alder Bernstein's upcoming his daughter's wedding activities won't prevent him from taking some time off and coming and joining us. It is a few days before the wedding, so maybe that'll be fine. So 5:37 for Telly's, and the speakers that we've got lined up so far are our city administrator. We've got representatives from the Monona Grove School District, Ken being one of them, Peter Sowell being the other. We've got representatives from Monona's Bee and Butterfly Brigade, and we'll want someone from the Sustainability Committee to talk for a bit about some of our seasonal projects, like the Don't Be Salty campaign, how we've sort of moved from no mow May to more pollinator habitat, which kind of leaves a nice segue for the Bee and Butterfly Brigade. But I'm just wondering if I could twist, maybe, I don't know, somebody's arm to say a few words about the Don't Be Salty stuff. I think if you and Ashley might be able, especially with just the graphic, it's so fun. It's just such a fun thing to talk about.
Yeah.
And we could talk about how, we incorporated VMO and the Department of Public Works and all that stuff. So that'd be great. And I'm still waiting for word back from the library and parks to see if they might be interested, but we did hear back from Public Works. And unfortunately, Brad is really already committed for that evening and he won't be able to speak, but I have to believe that there's some way we can still represent some of the work that they're doing with like I&I and LED street lamp. We can still mention it. Perhaps, even though the dashboard rate isn't ready yet, there's got to be some preliminary information we might be able to share.
Probably by that time,
Maybe,
yeah.
maybe. Okay,
Yeah, I wanted to also ask if there's any ideas for other community organizations, community members who are kind of doing grassroots sustainability
yes.
efforts.
Well, Mark Buffett asked, Mark Buffett was interested in speaking. But he's just a residential solar guy, you know, so he knows a lot about solar. He's got batteries, he's got everything. He's really kind of very knowledgeable about that. Could talk about that. It's another solar project though, but yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
or were you thinking of more of just, other grassroots things?
Yeah, I think that, you know, we already have a lot of city, like official
Yeah,
government representation,
yeah,
so
yeah.
some more grassroots representation, I think would help balance things out.
Okay.
And it's it's meant to be a networking event as well as an educational event, so I think
Mm-hmm.
it could be valuable. I just
Yeah,
would need to rely on connections that some of y'all have.
right.
I was thinking maybe Andrew Butts from the Green Neighbor Project might be someone good to reach out to.
I was trying to remember his name.
Was he one of those who were involved in the Bee and Butterfly Brigade?
He's not.
He runs
That
a
makes it
small
great.
little effort called the Green Neighbor Project that helps people connect to solar opportunities and energy efficiency opportunities in their community.
Mhm.
Yeah,
I'm trying to think of like, yeah, go ahead, Sue.
I've got myself into a little project. Which has kind of opened up a whole new world of sustainability for me. But it actually has to do with bringing, it's called, it's a group, a formal political group called Welcome Corps. And they bring refugees who are, formal refugees, help bring them into communities and get them oriented and support them through the transition into good jobs and that, finding healthcare. And so I know there was some interest from other people I've talked to about, Monona being such a very white community, and how could we, kind of diversify a little bit, or certainly get people more acclimated to other nationalities and whatever. So it's not like you need to move them into the community necessarily. In fact, our group is most likely maybe not. We know that South Madison has a lot of the orientation things. This group is from Africa. They're coming from Tanzania, and they have a refugee camp in Tanzania, and both the dad and mom, who are 24 and 21, have grown up in that camp. So it's the third largest refugee camp in the world. So it's just a very interesting process, and how to support them, bring them in, provide little housing temporarily, so that kind of stuff. But it's just an interesting thing that,
It is interesting.
yeah.
And what a wonderful, like, feel good in your heart.
Oh.
Thing to be involved in.
It was
right?
just kind of the thing I needed right now.
Yeah.
It just was.
So I just wanna, Thor and I have been pretty, Thor and
That's
I have
very
been
different
pretty,
though from what we've done, and it's really.
yeah, we've got 5 minutes to talk about this topic on the agenda
Sure.
tonight. So,
Sure.
so we've been really mindful about like keeping meetings going.
Sure.
Would you be satisfied if we were to say something like, if you would like to say something, like put together like an outline or proposal, or flesh out a little bit more about how you would present?
Yeah.
Would that be, would
I
that
can
be enough
try and
tonight?
see.
I don't wanna say like
I can't-
absolutely no, I just.
Right, no,
Yeah,
I don't know, I mean, the other person that is interested is down the block from us, Simone, do you know her?
I don't.
She's been a long-term sustainability, she's wonderful.
Okay.
But she was so excited when I was telling her about it. She said, oh, I've been thinking about something like that. And hers is a little different, but we haven't proposed this at all, to any of you yet. It's brand new. And so it's like, it just kind of
I wonder
exploded
if-
when I talked to her.
I wonder
So
if Simone
she
would
might
like to connect with the DEIB group.
Well, I think we would both want
There's
to
definitely an
do
overlap,
that,
I
but she
understand
is a wonderful, I mean, I would be really, she would be a wonderful speaker.
Yeah.
And she, you know, it would be not somebody from this group. So I think, but I don't know if
Okay.
she's ready to do that. I certainly can ask her if she would like to do that, or if she would prefer to wait till we engage more with the city with that.
Yeah. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I fully understand and totally agree with you that environmental sustainability and social, you know,
Justice issues.
sustainability, they're all connected. I totally get that. I guess I would just say like, speak to your, if you could just like do a little more
Talk.
research and look into it and
Oh,
and if it feels to you like it absolutely is doable, like just get back in touch with Thor and I with email and see
Okay.
if we can work out the details. Yeah.
Okay, the other thing I'm concerned about is we have so many speakers already. I mean, you think usually they do 3 or 4 and,
Yeah.
you know, we
Yeah,
don't want to
yeah,
take the whole
yeah.
time of, I mean, the whole purpose is get people to talk to each other and come up with new
Yes.
ideas, not what we've already. You know, so,
All right, and I was mistaken. I said we only have 5 minutes. We actually have a little more, but even though we're it's time to move on. So, excellent. So I think the action item on that would be that, if you have not yet received anything from Sustain Dane and you're on their mailing list, you should, but nonetheless, someone, probably Thor, will forward to you the graphic and then you can post it to your social media, whatever it is, share it with your networks.
Another thing would be a newsletter submission for
Yes.
this month.
Yes, yes, the Monona E-News, yep, and that is definitely, I think I already sent that to Neil, but yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
okay.
but yeah.
Okay.
Mhm. Yep,
So we do have an article, someone's covering
yep,
something.
yep, we're covering the e-newsletter, yep, with
Okay, great.
the Sustain Dane event and also with the, if we wanna do the Don't Be Salty thing, but we've already had 2 months of the SALT campaign, right?
Yeah.
Or have we not?
Well,
I can't
I
recall,
submitted
I
an
think it
article
was 2.
last, to the last newsletter, but it was
Yeah.
about waste, holiday waste.
That's right.
So it was not a salty.
So let's do the
yes.
salt, we'll do
Yeah.
the salt, okay, I'll do the salt, okay, I can submit.
People are gonna be digging out
Yep.
salt and.
Yep,
and
yeah, yep, yeah. So we'll do the
Sustain.
Sustain Dane for the newsletter and the salt campaign, all right. And then that brings us nicely into number 5, letter B, just a little update on how the Salt Wise project is going. Before I hand it off for Krista to say a few words, I will say that there are some bookmarks here if anyone wants to take them and hand them out. Also, I posted something just today to my Facebook page, just that beautiful, you know, Lake Monona graphic. It's just really nice to, it's just so eye-catching. If you're on social media, please share a little bit about this campaign and encourage your friends to look at the resources on the city website. Anything that you'd like to share with us about your meeting with MG21?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it was a brief but productive meeting. The purpose of the meeting was to partner with MG21 students to create a PSA.
Yeah.
The students have, and so who I met with were Ben Hulbert and Alex Mistel. They are both middle campus teachers. They are with an active group of kids who have been doing PSAs for other things, so these kids are pretty excited to jump on any PSA. It's a learning experience. I provided for them our handout. So they could have some talking points along with a link to our city resources that we have on this topic and the SaltWise link as well. These teachers are pretty savvy. They knew about as much as we do about this topic. And so I'm excited to see what they might come up with. When we left the meeting, the kind of the next steps were, yay, they agree, they've got students on board. B, they're gonna connect with Will Nimmo at WBMO. I offered that Teresa and I are available for any questions about the campaign itself, any sustainability questions, but we'll guide them through the PSA reporting process. So they realize that we got a quick turnaround, short lead time, so I think we should see something in the next week or 2 on that. So that's a great opportunity. It's a first foray into kind of a sustainable sustainability committee kind of partnering effort with the group. So several requests. We were wanting to, I kind of pitched to our little salt-wise subgroup here. Are there other asks we have MG 21, you know, but like involving the students a little bit more in this particular campaign? And some thoughts were that a group of students or a student might want to write a short paragraph in the parent newsletter, an awareness paragraph. This is what, you know, responsible salting is about. Or maybe even an opinion piece in the paper. I think it's a big leap for them to think about that. But anyway, these are some options. They're also eager to engage this topic in the springtime when they are engaged in the citizen science program with the DNR and water quality, where they can actually be measuring for salt content in the water.
Wow.
So that's something that we can continue to have a conversation with them about. Moreover, they're just excited to, you know, intersect however they can with different campaigns that we have forthcoming. The e-cycling event, Earth Day, you know, the leafing campaign in the fall.
Yeah.
So I think that was really positive.
That's wonderful.
You had also asked if I would please learn more about what the district is doing with
Yeah.
salt application on school district properties. I didn't have a response yet, but the new facilities director, his name is Gary True. And I left him a message, followed up with an email, just requesting a brief conversation, some informational awareness opportunity on our part, but also just to learn what the district is doing, let them know their certification that they can pursue to be more responsible. So I guess that's my brief update with the recent meeting. Before I go on, are there any questions anyone has?
Not a question, but just a comment. Ken, you know, we should probably be the ones that circle it back with the school districts, you know, to being on that sustainability committee and just remind them about the certification for salt use. Maybe we can float the idea.
Yeah, that committee hasn't been too
I know.
active recently,
know.
but I mean, the good thing is that, you know, the work that we spearheaded on energy has been basically institutionalized by the district, and they've kind of taken that flag and they're going to run with it. But that also means the school district sustainability committee needs a new thrust, a new focus, right?
Right.
And
Right.
maybe that is to focus on grounds,
Who
you know,
knows? Yeah,
no mow May and the salt thing and stuff like that, and maybe a
Right.
tree planting campaign.
yeah,
But it would be good to reconnect with the district's sustainability committee and see where they want to go.
yeah. When Ken mentions that the district is running with solar, there's a new ground mount array that's being planned out in Cottage Grove, right next to the new elementary school. Pretty amazing stuff, I'll tell you. Yeah, they are running with it. So I wonder, you know, if the committee does reconvene, maybe a student from MG 21 could be interested in joining the committee. You know, we had some students last time on the committee, you never know. Did you think there was much appetite for the opinion piece? That's kind of cool to think about that they could do that for a newsletter or newspaper.
I'd like to circle back.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
hear what they
Yeah.
received.
I don't think it's beyond the level of
Yeah.
high school students,
No,
but you
no.
know, it just is. Yeah, I don't know, I think it'd be kind of a fun challenge and
Right.
see if I can get it accepted, you know?
I'm thinking that might be an upper campus activity. Maybe you have well, this was just engaging with the middle campus
Oh, I
the
see.
teachers at this point, just because they're so connected to the PSA work they've been doing.
Sure.
But yeah, I'm certain we have many more opportunities for conversation about how we can leverage and help these students too. They have a stewardship mission as one of the pillars at MG 21, and you know, this helps them to engage that as well. So
It just feels like such a wonderful, willing, you know, group of helpers at that
Yes.
school, you
Yes.
know, just so great. And so if I understand correctly, they're just gonna run with the PSAs on their own.
they are.
That's really cool.
They'll get some guidance if they need it from Will and Joe. So.
Is there anything else you need us to know about the winter campaign? Do you need our help? Like distributing information, reaching out to businesses? What can we do?
I know that we talked about, so Ashley and I have not yet had a chance to do our canvassing.
That's okay.
So I'm hoping to do that after the plows could get through. But we, I was just wondering if anyone on the committee here has had a chance to connect with the
Oh, I know what you're gonna say.
business,
Yes, that's me. I need to do that.
Mesba?
Mesba,
I need
thank
to do
you.
that.
Yes. Because that was one area where we can just continue to highlight and get some buy-in.
That's on my to-do list. Put my name on that one. Yeah. Yeah, I need to do that
Awesome.
because they have a newsletter. So, they said that they would be happy to include information that we send them in their newsletter. So
Okay.
thank you for the reminder on that, Chris.
Good. So yeah, that would be the remaining, kind of piece is just getting out there and getting information distributed.
Window claims, do we have them yet?
The stickers,
Oh, the stickers,
they're
yeah.
going to arrive early next week.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's right, stickers.
Yep.
Yeah, they look so good.
Yeah,
This
that'll be fun.
will pick them up, I'll bring some to Ashley.
Yeah, people are gonna love them.
I have two quick updates.
Yep.
For this project, so I'll do some social media posts this next week about Salt Awareness Week, which is the week of January 22nd. There's webinars every day at lunchtime from SaltWise. And then last month, we had talked about the salt use ordinance and you had made a motion to move forward with that. So I spoke with the Public Works Director to run it past him and see what he thought. He had a couple concerns about enforcement. And made it clear that Public Works wouldn't be able to help enforce it at all. That wasn't the plan anyways. Code enforcement would do that. I spoke with code enforcement. He doesn't really have to enforce the snow removal ordinance much. It's a couple problematic spots along Winona Drive. But otherwise it's, it doesn't come up a whole lot. The problem was that Public Works Committee didn't have a meeting this month because of the New Year's holiday. So they're not meeting next until February, and just process wise, our recommendation first needs to go to Public Works. So with the timeline, for instance, if we were to make a recommendation to Public Works today at the meeting, then Public Works would recommend it to council February 7th at the earliest. And then council needs 2 full reads of a draft ordinance, so that would be February 19th and then March 4th. And then it needs to be in the paper for a week. And just with the timeline, this ordinance wouldn't go live until March 21st at the earliest. So if the goal was to have it be more of an educational ordinance and be an opportunity for outreach and raising awareness. We just thought the timing's, it's totally off, so. It's not in the agenda today because we thought it didn't make sense given that, and it would make more sense to just time it for the end of the year, pick it up in October or so and just time it to go live in winter. That would give us some more time. It's also kind of workshop it with Public Works and code enforcement to.
So now I'm bigger question, like why is this something that needs to go through Public Works? Why not just directly to council and code enforcement?
I think they have control over all of the sidewalks in the city.
Public Works controls,
Well,
So what do you mean by
the sidewalks are within city right away.
right.
So,
But if a resident is putting salt on the sidewalk, that has nothing to do with Public Works, right?
but then there's also Public Works salting city-owned,
On the streets, though.
sidewalks in front of City Hall, the library. Elsewhere.
Center, yeah, right, all this.
Yeah.
I'm just curious why. I mean, you're right, we never envisioned Public Works to be the enforcement of this. We just, and we kind of always thought it would just be directed at residents, not the city, because our crew is Saltwise certified, so they're not oversight.
Right,
It's just really, yeah,
yeah,
but still Dan wanted to be,
yeah,
Involved.
Dan wanted it to go
Okay.
through Public Works,
okay. Okay, all right,
so.
so we'll go through Public Works next, so I mean, we could. When do you think would be a better time to pick this up, like in the autumn of
I think,
twenty
yeah,
twenty-four?
in the autumn, time it for, having it go live in late November, early December, do a big publicity campaign around it. Get it in the newspapers, ESAs, social media posts.
Okay. Okay. Fair enough. All right, anything more about the winter campaign with salt use? Let's go on then to number 5C, discussion of possible amendments to chapter 263-5 of the Monona Municipal Code of Ordinances regarding the regulation of natural lawns. So in your packet, they've got that ordinance. And this is gonna be really nicely timed, if it gets to council just as the spring weather is hitting and people are starting to plan out their yards and do some winter seeding maybe. So, so there's the ordinance is in here with and without the markups, so that we can kind of see what that looks like, right?
Yeah, so some key reminders, because it's been a while since we put this on the back burner. And that, by the way, happened just because Teresa and I realized we
Yeah.
should run this past folks who already have natural lawns,
Yeah.
make sure it wouldn't cause issues there. So the ordinance as drafted would have 10-foot setbacks, so natural lawns must be at least 10 feet away from right of way, from and all property lines as well. The committee in the past preferred that those be reduced to like 5 feet, especially from property lines that aren't the right of way. The Public Works Director didn't support that at the time, but I think we could bring that back up with them and, if we have a representative from the committee, explain why that's the preference, we could do that.
So can you say that again? So the Public Works Director wanted us to keep the part about 5 feet setbacks.
10-foot setbacks, yeah.
Was there a reason for that?
It was because of
Anyway.
equipment using the right of way, if there need to be repairs to the road, to utilities.
But I mean, between the property lines, that doesn't make any sense to me.
Or does it? I mean,
I agree, I think there's opportunity there if we can argue our case and I think we should be able to get that support. And I think maybe even 5 feet from the right of way. Right of way tends to be like 10 to 15 feet from the curb face. There's
Oh, okay,
a lot of right of way.
okay.
Um.
So if you have a
sometimes
sidewalk in
30.
front of your house, the right of way starts from the street or from the sidewalk into your
So
property?
yes, the right of way would encroach into your yard.
Land, yeah, your yard, yeah, okay.
So 10 feet from that could be 30 feet from the actual curb. So I think
And
there's,
none of their sidewalk clearing equipment would require 10 feet on each side of it. would it? I mean, I'm trying to think why. I can understand why it's 10 foot at the street because of leaf collection and various other things. And just the slopes of some properties. I mean, you really need some space sometimes for that. So I can see that at the street, but I'm not sure I understand why it would matter in between the houses.
You don't know.
Yeah, maybe we need some clarification
Yeah,
from
it's-
them as to why.
Yeah,
I think there's, need to workshop this more with Public
Public
Works,
Works,
yeah.
And maybe if you have utility things or something running through your, I mean, I could see some reasons, but I think we could clarify that more too, and this, if that were the issues, if you have these other things that are obstacles, you know,
Right,
I don't know.
yeah, and you know, people might just, if you plant a natural lawn, acknowledge that some of it might get damaged every now and then. It, on the rare occasion that Public Works needs to use that land for
Right.
work.
Yeah, and so I think in looking at this ordinance, the idea was that, you know, when the no mow May ordinance was changed, or when the ordinances were changed to allow for no mowing, it really had very little to do with the ordinance and more about the publicity generated from that change. And I think we were hoping that this could sort of take off in that same way and get people thinking about natural lawns. Maybe that's not the right way to, you know, think about ordinances, I don't know. But Thor and I ran this language past a person who already does have a natural lawn. And as this ordinance reads, his property would be in violation. You know,
Yeah.
and it is, in my opinion, a role model property of what we're looking for. It's neat, it's tidy, it's using short fescue, it's just using all the elements, it's extremely sustainable and water retentive, you know. It just does what we want it to do, you know, so it's,
Well,
yeah,
I
maybe just
also-
more workshopping with Dan.
Yeah, and is that property, would it be in violation because of the setbacks, the size
Yes,
as well?
setbacks,
Okay.
yes.
Yeah.
I also had some problems
Yeah.
with the inclusion of shrubs and trees in the definition of natural lawns. Because I have a number of bushes and things that are right up to my property. You know, they branch, I mean, I can cut some of them back, but you know what I mean? I don't know. Like sometimes the spaces between houses are fairly close.
Right, and like right now, you'd be allowed to put a planting there.
Right.
Um,
Well, I mean, I have had plantings there forever since I moved in. It's the same bushes.
yeah, so what's
know
the
what I'm
difference between having a planting there right now versus wanting to put in
Yeah,
natural
But
lawn?
I would be in
Right.
violation too, is what I'm saying. You know, and I don't know.
Is it fair to say that we really can't, we just need to talk to Public Works more?
Get clarification, I mean, some of those
Okay.
I think so.
definitions and so on.
Yeah, with defining natural lawn with setbacks, with side limits.
Right.
You know, the resident you had the
Yeah.
feedback from felt that the size limits were too restrictive as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
So with timeline for this, you know, if for instance, we recommended it to Public Works,
Mhm.
I don't even know if it would need to go to Public Works. Something to check, but you know, if we want to go live, like this ordinance to be live in May, for instance, it would need to be, you know, in council in April. So,
Well, then,
Do we want to do an ordinance at all, is what I'm wondering now,
mhm,
because again, like people are gonna have natural lawns and people are gonna have natural lawns that are in violation of the current ordinance, and no one's gonna enforce it anyway. Well, I mean, maybe the better way to go about this is to just educate people about natural lawns and not do it through ordinance. I didn't realize there would be, yeah.
the other potential problem is I'm thinking on my property, and I don't know if it's true of yours too, but mine, some of the infrastructure is underneath the street and others is behind me. So, you know, if there are things that they can't dig to, you know, it might be to the advantage of the homeowner to know that before they plant something there.
Yeah.
So I'm just, you know, that's another issue that may come up because not everything is similar.
What are the thoughts of the other folks in the room? Are there any? I hate to abandon this after all this work, but I almost, I don't know. Does it make sense to just meet with Dan and understand his concerns?
yeah, and maybe there's another strategy
Sure.
here with,
Yeah,
we have the current ordinance of regulation of natural lawns, which requires the permit and the management plan and that one person has ever submitted in
It's never-
its 10-year
right,
history.
right.
Maybe there's ways to amend that language to just make that permit much easier to get.
And not even bother with the details of all these setbacks and
Right.
and let people just,
Right.
maybe that's the way to do it. Or maybe you and I just meet and talk about it. Okay. All right. Any more discussion or should we move on? I'm very excited about this item under new business. I was in such a good mood on my walk over here. Been thinking about this for so long and we finally have it. So Thor was able to get our energy use data from the city. And he shared it with everybody. It was in the meeting packet. If you have that in a spreadsheet that you can put up on the screen, that would be fantastic. And if people would like the data in a spreadsheet format so that you can sort and filter and things like that, we can get that, or can get that to you as well. But what you're seeing here is just this massive, there it is, this massive grid, which lists each meter that, thank you for that clarification. It's not so much the building, but all the meters in the city. Yeah,
Yep, so each well, each park is gonna have its own meter for lights, for pumps, for some of that equipment you don't see. You know, the water tower, things that you might not consider a municipal building, but it's using electricity that the city's paying for. Or natural gas.
also included in the packet was
I'll just make an interesting observation on that data for as long as we got it on the screen
Please.
there.
Yeah,
please.
The thing that leaps out at me is even though it's not the largest item of electricity consumption, if you look at row 11, the park and rec pool at 83,000 kilowatt hours, that's notable because that pool is only operational like for a quarter of the year, right? And you know, if you prorated that on a monthly basis, that's a pretty large electric consumption for operating the pool throughout the summer. So, you know, the nice thing about that is that's also the longest days of the year and the sunniest time of the year. So that might be, you know, potentially a good target for a future solar installation. Of course, you can't put solar panels on top of a pool, so it would have to go somewhere nearby.
but a little shade cabana.
Floaties,
Yeah,
yeah, right. Yeah. Ken, what else jumps out at you? I'm really interested in getting your feedback on this. I think about back to this school district where we were looking sort of at similar data.
Well, I think the other thing that's notable is the community center there at and City Hall. And you know, we know that those are going to be replaced very soon and we'll have new roofs on those buildings. So there'll obviously be an opportunity to you know, reduce that electricity use, both through energy efficiency of the new building and then also potential for on-site generation on the roof.
One comment on the pool too is, I know in Florida, a lot of outdoor parking areas have solar panels that kind of protect the cars and stuff, shade the cars, and also, you know, so that could be something easily done, perhaps. Nothing's easily done.
The catch there is that's usually about the most expensive way to do solar because you're
Oh,
not
is
just
it?
installing solar, you're building the whole structure that holds it up, and it's got to be engineered to withstand wind speeds and everything like that. There's a lot of
That's true.
concrete and steel involved. It tends to be the most expensive type of solar installation compared to just mounting it on a roof.
Something else, yeah. Okay, thank you. That's okay, good clarification.
That's not to say it doesn't work. It certainly does. And
Yeah.
I know of lots of examples as well. And if that's the only available space you have is a parking lot, well, then that might be what you end up doing, you know?
Or shelter roofs or something.
Yes.
So Ken, I know that over the years, you, back when Nancy was chair, you kind of, we've always had this like conversation about a roadmap, like actually building out like when, here are all of our buildings, here's all the roof replacements here. I would really love to finally just make this happen and take this data and work with it in a way that I actually sent an email to Matt Bitdorf, the guy that put the graphic together for the, for the school district, and if he could just do the same thing with this information. And just have it in some sort of like, I think a picture paints 1,000 words. It really has an impact when the city council members can see that graph. Is this data ready to be put into such a graph, or is there more sort of manipulation that would be needed?
Yeah, I think we need a little more information on these various properties. You alluded to the age of the roof and when the scheduled roof replacement is, but I think beyond that, information that we need from like Brad and Thor is just what is the orientation of the building? Is the roof facing south or not? And then what's on top of the roof? Are there mechanical units up there, air handlers, chillers, ventilation stacks, that sort of thing? Or is it free of penetrations where you could put solar easily on that roof? So, if we compiled that data, that would probably really quickly trim this list down to, maybe a third of the projects that have a good orientation, have a nice solid intact roof and don't have any penetrations or lots of equipment up there. And then we could start to look at this load data and say, okay, what makes sense to actually, try and make a roadmap and pencil out where we'd have a good return on investment. And it may be that Brad's already looked at that to some extent. I don't know.
I think he has.
No, right.
I think he has. But getting a list of potential solar ready roofs. Could probably work on that. Yeah, I did include the 2024 through 2028 capital budget in the packet as well. Let me share that. So that'll show some of the roof replacements that are planned. So solar right now is on City Hall, the library, the Public Works garage, and one of the smaller well buildings. So there's the Public Works garage. That's gonna have some roof engineering, not a full replacement. The library roof this year. And then, like Ken mentioned, the City Hall and the community center will both need roof replacements at some point during this time. If the new public safety building doesn't come to fruition. And then in 2028, you'll see this project here, the solar project. So that would be to replace and upgrade all of those solar systems, the 4 arrays that we currently have, potentially expand those. But they're reaching the end of their usable life, and the technology that's available now is much more efficient at converting solar energy into electricity. So that's planned for 2028, but the new public safety building could impact that.
Thor, do you know what the combined kilowatt capacity is of the existing systems?
I don't have the capacity available off the top of my head. Let me look into that for you.
Yeah, I'd just be kind of curious to know what we currently have. So if we're trying to replace that, or if we're trying to upgrade and, increase our capacity beyond that, sort of what we're looking at.
Yeah. Mhm. The spreadsheet that I shared did have the electricity generated on site from those arrays. But capacity.
Yeah, we could probably back it out that way.
Did you email that spreadsheet or just before?
I have not emailed the spreadsheet yet.
Are you talking about the one in the packet?
Yeah.
Can you tell me what row that was? that had
So the header would be green power on site.
that? Okay,
So that would be the electricity generated on site.
Is the not available due to it just,
Sorry, look at, it's the column electricity use generated from on-site renewable systems.
Yeah, so I took the electricity that was generated and just divided by about 1250 kilowatts per kilowatt hour, rough yield. So you know, it was probably somewhere on the order of about 75 kilowatts that we have altogether on the roof is my guess. And if we're tentatively penciling in 400,000 for PV systems in 2028, that would probably get us closer to 200 kilowatts. So it'd be almost a threefold increase in solar if today's prices still hold in 2028, and if we don't get any grants or incentives. So, you know, that'd be a great accomplishment if we make it happen.
Yeah. So this column then is broken down into whether or not how much of the energy is used on site versus exported. So here would be that renewable energy that's generated, which is exported off-site. So City Hall, all of the solar electricity generated is used here at City Hall. None is exported, but at the library, a small portion of that is excess and is exported offsite.
It is exported because it's excess.
Right. So that's true for the three other arrays. This
Okay.
would be consumed on site.
Can you help, or Thor, can you help me understand if the library, if I'm understanding correctly, so row 8, right? So the library is exporting some of the electricity that the panels are producing because it cannot use the electricity itself. The panels are producing too much. That doesn't seem,
During the time that it's produced. Not necessarily,
yeah,
it's not being stored
Yeah,
there,
okay,
so
okay.
at the time it's being
got
generated.
it, got it.
We
There's no,
might need
okay,
all of it, but then there's times where
got
the
it.
panels are not.
I
generating
forgot about
electricity.
battery. Yep.
And that's a very minimal export there for that building. I mean, 163 kilowatt hours, that's like $16 worth of electricity.
Yeah,
That's very minimal that we're feeding back onto the grid there.
yeah. And what about
But
the
some of the other buildings are a little more substantial, you
like
know.
row 10, what is
Yeah, right.
what is row 10? What is that
That's
building?
Public Works
Public
garage.
Works garage.
Yeah,
putting
they don't have as big of a load at the garage, so you know, they're probably about a third of the electricity that's generated is going back onto the grid, you know.
So does that just mean that those panels are not the right size for that building?
No, it just means you're making power during the day in excess of your load.
And you're not able
You
to
push
store
that
it.
back onto the grid. It does impact your sort of bottom line return on investment though, because
Right.
you get as much value for that electricity. Sorry, I got a 2-year-old's very excited about solar energy here, right? He thinks this is just hilarious.
So
So,
if,
you know, you know, if you want sort of a back of the envelope rough approximation, you know, you probably pay roughly about 10 cents a kilowatt hour to purchase electricity. So if you generate solar and you use it yourself, that's about what it's worth to you. But if you're pushing it back on the grid, you probably receive a credit for about half that amount, roughly 5 cents a kilowatt hour.
right,
So if you're way overproducing and pushing it back on the grid, that's not to say it's a bad thing. You're still getting money for it. It's just your, you know, overall financial return on investment or your payback time or whatever will be longer because the electricity that you push on the grid is not worth as much to the city as electricity that they consume themselves that directly offsets the retail bill.
Mhm.
And that's just speaking to the energy bill for the building, though. What we don't see here is the demand charges for the building. You know, we pay a fee for the maximum kilowatt hours that we consume in a 15-minute interval. Whatever the highest load is in a 12-month period, you pay a demand charge for that. And that's not reflected, you know, in this conversation we're having right now about the kilowatt hours. Um, and I don't know what the demand fee structures might be for the city's buildings, but you know, in a typical commercial building, it might be a third or as much as 40% of your bill is determined by that 15-minute interval where your load is the maximum. And it's structured that way because the utility has to design their power plants and their grid to serve those maximum loads, right? It's always got to be built to handle the largest load that's possible in the community. So, you know, it's probably about a third of our bill for most of these structures is a demand charge.
Sounds so tricky. All right. So can you make sure that, I mean, we can always watch the recording of the meeting, but just what I'm hearing is that more information is needed. And Thor's got that jotted down, it's recorded. It sure would be nice just to sort of get once and for all a grip on this and to be able to answer the question. Like, how close are we to our goals and how can we get closer and where are the opportunities? And maybe we have a meeting with Thor and Brad and you, and we just get this finalized once and for all. Would that be, does that sound doable to you?
Well, like I said, I think if we, you know, got that baseline information from Brad and Thor, we could at least go through that spreadsheet and figure out, you know, which places might be viable and which are not.
Right.
And then we could, you know, do just back of the envelope calculations, you know, what a payback period might look like on each of those buildings. That would probably eliminate a bunch more of them from consideration. Um, and then the other thing to consider is that with these new Inflation Reduction Act incentives, that may make some projects viable that otherwise wouldn't
Wouldn't have been,
we
right,
qualify for those IRA incentives.
right.
That said, I'm not familiar with the process for claiming those incentives yet. But I can tell you Madison College has got 2 solar RFPs that'll be out on the street in the next month or two. And we're going to figure out how to do that paperwork over the next year. So whatever I learn, I'm happy to
Yeah.
share the playbook with the
Happy.
city. So
Fantastic, yeah. Okay, that'd be great.
From the GTLC reporting for reference, right now we're at about 27.5% of our energy use coming from renewables. And that's between what we're generating and what we're purchasing from MG&E.
How much is generating?
What percent of that is generated?
Yeah.
What's, I don't
Is it
have
we're
that
just
number.
purchasing a bunch of wrecks? I mean, I get it, you know, but
I don't think the city's purchasing RECs, are we? I think we're just purchasing electricity from MG&E and part of their
Yeah.
electricity.
oh, the
They're-
green
they're
power
different.
tomorrow. Oh, I see what you're saying.
So about 30% of that renewable energy we're generating ourselves.
Okay. All right. All right, any questions about the data that Thor put together? Thank you so much for getting that. That's really, it's interesting to see all that. Can someone help me understand though, like on page 2, so many of the properties or so many of the meters have no data available. Is there a quick explanation for why that is? Like just so many of those rows just have nothing. And I don't know if it's just.
they could just be meters that aren't active anymore, but are still being,
Still on the list, yeah.
I
yeah,
think a lot of those might be facilities that don't have natural gas. So if it's an electrical facility, you wouldn't have a gas meter, right?
yeah, so. Yeah, especially on the second page, most of those are all streetlights. And I think within the last few years, we now just get billed for all the streetlights together.
Oh, hmm.
So that's a separate entry for streetlights. And we used to get billed based on individual streetlights or type of streetlight.
So that's why the individuals are still listed,
Right.
even though they're, okay.
Yeah, that's just a relic of, we used to report on those. So this could be cleaned up, but this is just the spreadsheet that I downloaded straight from the Energy Star
Okay.
portfolio manager.
Okay. Wonderful. All right. Thank you. Thank you very much. All right, let's go on then to a quick overview of the Renew Monona program. This is just something that we have on the agenda because Alder Bernstein had brought it up at their last meeting, and Thor did a little looking into it and has just a real quick sort of report out.
Yes, so the committee was interested in taking a look at the program to see if there are potential changes that can be made so that it meets sustainability goals better. So quick overview, the Renew Monona Loan Program is it's a 2% low interest loan program that is available to first time homeowners. If they're purchasing a new home, there's down payment assistance there. Or to any single family home owner where the assessed value is 120% or less of the median sale price throughout the city. So last year, that was about $450,000. So anyone who owns a single family home, the assessed value is at 450,000 or below is eligible for this program. Projects that are eligible include major home renovations like additions or kitchen and bathroom renovations. And the program will provide 50% of your project cost in this 2% loan, up to $75,000. And then smaller projects like environmental remediation, so removal of lead paint or asbestos, system upgrades, like, you make plumbing, electrical, HVAC, and then energy efficiency upgrades like insulation and windows and doors, or renewable energy installations. So rooftop solar is eligible for, again, 50% of your project cost up to a max of $15,000. And again, it's not a grant, it is a loan at a 2% annual interest rate that's paid back over the course of 10 years. So when I spoke with the planning director who oversees the program along with the finance director, he let me know that the Community Development Authority has started the process to look at changes to the program that came out of a recommendation from the DEIB committee, because the program isn't meeting its stated goals right now, to the degree that it potentially could. So at their February meeting, they're going to be considering some changes to this program, and that might include changes to the max award amount, or making it smaller in some cases so that money can get spread around more, or potentially lowering that max value of homes that are eligible, and a couple other changes, but they're exploring that over the next few months, what those potential changes might be, and then we'll be considering those in February. So the planning director was really open to, in addition to this equity lens, adding the sustainability lens for some of those changes. But rather than those proposals coming out of Sustainability Committee. He wanted to set up a meeting, just a small group meeting with Teresa, potentially the CDA chair and himself, to explore what those changes might look like, what might be feasible, and then the CDA chair and Doug can bring those to the CDA. Yeah, that's the update really. The sustainability changes are on the table potentially, just the process, Doug would prefer it starts, through him rather than through us.
And I can say that the DEIB team has also been wondering if the Renew Monona program should just be left the way it is to some degree and then just start a completely separate program. So, but that can come up in that conversation too, but yeah. If Renew Monona were to remain as is, I mean, or whatever happens, I can see this body doing a lot to promote and to do a lot of public education about it. Because it really is something that so few people know about. Yeah, so.
Yeah, that's one opportunity is that, almost always we're left with money in the pot at the end of the year for the Renew Monona program. Just not enough homeowners are taking advantage of it. And right now, we've had a few people who are double dipping in Renew Monona and the IRA. So they're getting, their loan amount from Renew Monona for the total project cost before those tax credits. They're getting the 30% tax credit after their loan. So it is a good opportunity right now for these kinds of renewable energy projects and energy efficiency projects.
Do you think that that's something that we would want to encourage?
Yeah, I think
I
so.
mean, yeah, it's like, it's not illegal, do it.
Yeah,
It's fabulous. It's a great way to like take advantage of what's out there.
right.
Maybe just an observation when I look at the program and the various things that it funds, most of what's on that list is sustainable stuff, right? Renewable energy, upgrades to electrical, plumbing, mechanical systems, environmental remediation, energy efficiency. The one exception is this major rehab category about adding on extra rooms and kitchen remodels and stuff like that. So, if we're looking at changing the program with an eye to sustainability, maybe that's the category that
Right.
be subjected to a little bit of scrutiny to actually focus it on some of the other things that are, more sustainably focused and also probably of more pressing concerns for people with low income, right?
Right.
If we're really trying to serve people that are of limited economic means, we should be helping them get rid of their lead pipes, get rid of their asbestos, not helping them, add an extra bathroom or whatever, or make a nicer kitchen. As much as all of us would like that, right? We should focus on the most pressing needs.
Absolutely.
I don't know if in our description here, it just seems that part of the basis for this was in response to potential buyers looking elsewhere because the cost of modernizing homes, which includes, of course, everything that's listed here, was a deterrent, right, for new families investing in our community. I think to your point, Ken, I think, yeah, we just want to think carefully about how we're kind of framing this. And then my other question was, is this being promoted? How are we rolling this out to the community?
Yeah, I think that's something we should talk with Doug about. There's not a whole lot of promotion right now besides some links on our webpage that you can, you kind of have to be in the know. I think Rick mentioned that last month. Rick took advantage of this for solar on his home and he
Ken took advantage.
shared it with neighbors and they had no idea.
Right.
It existed. Or maybe that was Ken who mentioned that.
Yeah.
So I think that would be one thing we can look at CDA on is how maybe the sustainability committee can be. We have kind of a good promotional network established already through our other campaigns. maybe this rolls right into that.
What is what does this body think about the idea of having a loan program, having two loan programs, one that's very closely, the purpose would be to sort of spur, more renewable energy and more sustainability changes in your house, energy efficiency, things like that. And another program separate from Renew Monona, which is really aimed more at that target audience that you were talking about. Or do we try to have one program do everything for everybody? I don't know.
Well, given that we're not even using up the money that we have available right now, I don't know that we need a second program. But maybe need to do a better job of promoting this one. Just another thought when I'm looking at the program,
So
there's
if I
different
could,
maximum loan amounts depending on what you're pursuing. And maybe another way to do it is rather than changing into the categories, just thinking about how those dollar amounts are set. Right now, the biggest dollar amount is $75K for adding a kitchen or a bathroom, but there's only $15,000 that's allowed for things like asbestos and lead pipe removal. And
right,
in my mind, that home improvement program addressing things that are like existing code violations, or I shouldn't say violations, but bringing a home up to modern code can easily surpass $15,000. Haven't just gone through having to address a home with electrical wiring from 1929. You can burn up a lot of money rewiring a house. And maybe we could think about increasing that category for people that are working on that. Same thing for installing a solar energy system. You can easily exceed $15,000 putting in a solar system as well.
Does it include radon?
That's a good question. That's not specifically listed. But I know that's a big focus for Dane County this year. Radar testing and radar systems. Yeah, I have to check.
We had to put one in that one, so that's.
Yeah, it sure seems like it should be included, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
and the reason I bring up the idea of having a separate program is because that came up in the DEIB committee. The folks that were looking at this program from a DEI perspective were wondering if they should just do something completely separate.
Yeah, I think that would be mostly a decision by CDA and the finance director. I don't know how the accounting would work. It would get into those details, but
Yeah.
Something I think would be appropriate to bring up.
Or ask for them.
Yeah, when we
Okay.
meet with Doug. All right.
That's it. So that takes us to number 7, diversity, equity, inclusion discussion items, projects, programs, policies, budget consideration for council advisement. One thing that I'll just share, and this again, in every city committee has this standing item on their agenda to talk about DEI. And one thing that I thought was pretty interesting, it came into my inbox just today, was the number of holidays that are coming up on the calendar. I kind of mentioned this last time we met. Of course, the 15th of January, we've got MLK Day. I didn't know the 16th of January is the Day of Racial Healing. I had never heard of that before. January 21st, World Religion Day. January 27th, Holocaust Remembrance Day. So just some days with special meaning happening out there in the month of January that are going to affect a lot of our neighbors. So something to be mindful of. Is there anyone else that, I guess what I would also share with you is that the DEIB report implementation team is winding down their work, and I would predict that there would be some sort of recommendation to council within the next month or two. So that's pretty exciting stuff. And again, the purpose of that body is to look at the report that was created and then find prioritization of the strategies recommended and recommendations for implementation. And if you haven't read that report, it is out on the city website. You just have to look for DEI report and it's right there. Wonderful, really impressive work that we have there. Anything else that others might want to share about DEI initiatives or projects or anything that has come on your radar or experiences that you've had, seminars, webcasts, whatever things you may have attended? Lectures going around in town? No? All right. In that case, why don't we go on then to the last item on our agenda, just some updates from committee members or items to consider for future agenda. Thor had added here the operating budget.
Yeah, so just quick update there. We have another $2,000 this year in the operating budget, plus about $200 remaining that's been rolled over from last year. And I don't anticipate as many purchases of promotional material
Right.
this year because we have excess from last year, so.
Right.
We should think about other ways to spend that money. It could be, one thing is we have limited engagement on Facebook right now with some of those posts, but you can boost posts if you
Oh.
spend money there. I think that's something that you all did a couple years ago.
You're right.
With some events. So things like the e-cycling event, maybe we wanna spend $40 to boost that, so it
Yeah.
reaches 10 times the audience,
Right.
but it's one thing to consider.
Yeah.
And then related to the e-cycling event, I have reached out to the contractor we used last year back in November. And they took a while to get back to me, but they finally did last week. And so dates that are available for the e-cycling event are more limited this year. There are none in April for Earth Day, but March 30th is available, or June 29th. We want to have it sometime in that time frame. And then there's a couple dates in July. So I wanted to gauge the committee's appetite
Yeah.
for March 30th, if that's too early, or is June 29th too late?
Is this for just the Huska Park or?
This is when the contractor has availability to bring their trucks out, yeah,
So the event that we held last year in the parking lot of Nichols School.
right.
Yeah,
It's nice to have it in good weather.
yeah.
So,
I recall we were wearing short sleeves
It was nice.
Yeah,
last year,
in
yeah.
April,
Mhm.
April
Oh, that was
20-ish.
April.
So it'd be almost a month earlier.
Yeah,
Uh,
that's, what is spring break for school district.
I know that's spring break for Mark University is right around that time. So are you asking because you think people would be out of town?
We don't want people out of town. We don't want a big chunk of people out of town. for
When's the
spring
last day
break.
of school? June.
Usually like June 8th or 10th or something.
Okay, so
That would be right during spring break, or I'm guessing. But I don't know about the Monona Grove district, but
Yeah,
Chris is checking there.
Yeah. Take a look.
it looks like that would be
It would be.
during spring break on March 30th,
And then otherwise, we're talking June?
29th, yep. The other, there might be other
Sure.
contractors out there who
Oh,
can provide that kind of service, I don't know.
I don't know. Man, that's a pretty sweet service that they offer. Step away. June 29th, huh? Hmm. What are some other holidays that we could? Like, what are some other holidays? Like, Arbor Day is not on June 29th. I'm just trying to think of like other piggybacking type things. Are we getting into the 4th of July festival the very next week in Monona? If we go June 29th, then the very next week is,
Yeah, there's also the Saturdays in July. They offered the 13th, 20th, and 27th. Maybe it's okay during spring break, but
Yeah,
most people probably stay in town, spring cleaning.
What are people worried about for June 29th? Is that just because it might be hot or?
People go away in the summer more like.
Right, and but
I don't
they
know.
spread out sort of through the summer,
Yeah,
I would think,
yeah.
I don't know. It's so hard to know.
well, I'm leaning toward the March 30th date just because April is sort of taking on an Earth Month. Like, you know, flavor,
So that's
especially in
close
Dane
to it.
County.
Global Recycling Day is 18th of March. We can tag on to that.
Global Recycling Day, yep.
How's that?
How can we not choose the March date in this game?
There you go.
Global Recycling Day, 18th of March.
There's even a World Bee Day, May 20th, so we can just tag right onto these things.
What day of the week is March 18th? They don't have that date available, or they
That's
might,
a Monday,
a
so
Monday?
But we could fall in that week perhaps. What was it again in March they're available?
the 30th.
Yeah, so we can
So-
still
so that's
align
okay.
the
Yeah.
spirit of that
Yeah.
event.
Sure.
I think, isn't March 31st Easter Sunday this year? Isn't it really early?
Oh, no. Sarah, thanks for that.
It is,
Sorry.
yeah.
There we go. That's
date-
why they're available.
The day before
exactly
Easter,
why
is that a problem?
I don't know.
Oof.
It might be.
Yeah, I mean, I think people are often preparing to host people for Easter or they're,
Yeah.
so.
Dang.
June?
So let's see. Environmental Awareness Days of the Year. So
Every day.
it should be, right?
I don't.
Yeah, Easter's,
So then we're looking at Saturdays in June.
well, the last one in June or Saturdays in July.
Oh, so June 29th or July. Do you think June 29th is problematic because of the 4th of July festival going on? No,
No,
there's not gonna be
that's
like
probably the
big
next weekend, right?
trucks and stuff coming in and set up in city. No,
Yeah,
no,
I don't think so.
Okay,
I am inclined to agree with you, Thor.
but it's not a problem.
I
yeah.
don't think so.
Okay. So June 29th. Wow, okay, well. I guess it doesn't really matter when we do it.
June, I think it's June 10th, but let me just.
Oh, okay.
You know, that just, we'll be competing with
gives-
graduation parties is about the only thing we'll be competing with, I think. Yeah. But people
But
who
they'll be
want
done
to,
with those
people who
by
want to will do it.
We'll do it, yes.
Right.
I don't
Yeah.
think that's gonna deter me, so.
So
More time to get the word out there.
there you go. So it is June 29th.
They're
is
shuffling
our
between
decision?
spring and
Okay,
summer stuff and yeah, maybe.
then my last update is that Rick had sent me a grant opportunity for a storm drain mural through Dane County. It's due February 15th, and he's said he's willing to take that on. Essentially, if we apply for it, we just have to identify a location for a new storm drain mural, and Dane County will provide an artist and we'll get it done. There's an opportunity for the community to help actually paint the mural, but it's not necessary. And we have a few pre-approved designs, but if we want, we can also work with them to create our own design. So I think we'll be exploring that. We just need to work with Parks and Public Works to identify where we might be able to do it, you know, safely, because you have to block off the road for a couple hours or a whole day while they paint, and needs to be in a high visibility, high foot traffic area that has concrete all the way around the storm drain. So there's not too many places, but I think maybe like near like the Current could be an option, or at Stonebridge Park potentially.
Does this sort of overlap with Kristen's earlier comments about MG21 students looking for opportunities to get out in the community? I almost feel like there's probably some artists who've already they've already done this at MG21. I'm sure they've already
They
painted
have
these.
the one at the
At the
library.
library, yeah.
Right.
So I don't know if they're ready for another round of those sorts of things, or if they're like, yeah, if they've done that.
Right for that.
Yeah,
I just
okay,
need to know about it.
yeah, okay. That's fabulous.
The other thing is to doing something like, the Dream Park was done with just any groups that are, you propose it to all the groups and all the age groups and see if there's anything they can,
Mhm.
maybe you think about it ahead, what.
But we're just
what
talking about
pieces of it-
painting the storm
I
drain.
know,
Oh,
but, well, a mural around the storm drain, right?
yeah, on the ground, on the
Oh,
sidewalk,
on the ground.
on the,
Oh,
yeah, right on this
Oh,
concrete.
so then
Yeah.
you're not gonna need 100 people.
Right,
No.
exactly.
We don't need anyone.
Okay,
Yeah.
got it. I'm
We actually
thinking of
don't
some
need
big
anyone, that's
thing
right,
that
they
you're
bring
gonna-
their own artists, that's
Yeah.
right, I forgot.
We can help.
Okay,
that's
up
right.
to
Oh,
10
they bring
people
their-
can help, but
Yeah,
Oh, I see.
they just need
All right,
the municipality's permission
To
to
do
have
it.
an artist come paint something.
Okay.
Yeah.
okay,
that's
well,
great.
that's sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah. Why not do it?
Yeah.
I thought you were gonna bring up something else about recycling.
Yeah. So related to the East Lighting
When we
event.
were talking-
the
yeah,
best-
yeah, okay.
Brad did reach out this week with just some data from our recycling provider. And a potential opportunity for the sustainability committee to get more involved with recycling, which is timely given the city's switch to a new provider for refuse collection last week. So the report, the recyclable materials that we collect get sold and we get some money back for what we sell. And the report came back that Monona is recycling at a rate of 89 pounds per resident per year, while the standard for the region is 106. So we're about 17% below that. So there's lots of opportunity there for revenue, because if we were recycling at that rate, we'd be paid an extra $50,000 or so. And then there's also lots of improperly recycled materials like electronics that have to get taken out, and then that gets taken out of that revenue stream as well. So that resulted in like a $6,000 loss of potential revenue this year. So their recommendation for the city was to increase public awareness
Yep.
and do
Yep.
public information campaigns. So the sustainability committee is probably the perfect body
I think that's
to
a
take
great
that
idea,
on.
because you get so many questions, and I have so many questions when I put stuff in my computer, but it's
We all do.
not that
We all
clear.
do.
Yeah.
All of us, you know, it's like, this container, this to-go container, yes, no,
Yeah,
yeah, we all
right.
do,
Oh,
yeah.
And they think most of that, the difference is probably we're recycling a lot of contaminated materials, the jar you're throwing away has food in there still, so that can't be recycled, it gets taken out and put into the trash
So knowing to
stream.
rinse it or do what you probably have to do.
So, yeah,
Yeah, it's just a lot of that needs to be clean. Unless we're just doing really well and not buying all that.
we weren't
Well,
consuming
Well, Susan, that was the other thing, like, we were trying to figure out, like, what could be the reasons behind that statistic, right? It
Absolutely.
very well could be
Mhm.
that we're recycling less because we're consuming less.
Yes, or.
Yeah, that's, yeah.
Or choosing more
Yeah,
appropriate,
I mean,
items that
probably,
don't require all that.
yeah,
Who knows?
hard to say,
Yeah.
hard to say, yeah.
I have a question.
yeah,
Is there any opportunity, I know this, I brought up long before I joined the sustainability committee, I had a burning question about why can't we recycle more things? You know, styrofoam was the top of my list at that time. And with our previous vendor, that was either not an option or it was too costly. I don't know if that conversation is something that can be resurrected with this new vendor. Is there a
I'm not
way to
sure.
broaden the range of items that can be captured in that recycling stream? So,
I don't think there is a way for us to negotiate a contract such that we would get more options for recycling more things.
okay,
I don't think that is an option with Pelletieri or anyone. But that said, there are places in Monona, like Reynolds, that do, maybe there is some sort of agreement, so I don't know, something that could be worked out with someone else that we
I-
could. create a drop-off site or something like that.
That would
I
be
don't know.
great.
I don't know. Sarah, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I think it's probably more the landfill's fault than Pelletier or, you know, any of the particular municipal contracted providers. Because they, you know, that's the only place that they are bringing waste to, is the Dane County landfill. And so I assume that it's because that's across the board, that that's what the landfill is able to recycle, until we get our new landfill soon, well, soonish. So, but I think that's probably more where it's coming from is that they wouldn't have anywhere to bring it if we had a different provider that said they could pick up different recycling. I don't believe that there's a different provider. Like there's no provider that does mattress recycling, for example. I mean, I know that's like a big product. It's not something we're getting rid of a lot. But there are actually like thousands of mattresses that go into the Dane County landfill. So they're going to have a mattress recycler that they're going to bring in as a new contractor that's currently in La Crosse County, when the new landfill is fully operational with the sustainability campus and everything. So I think it's probably more that end of the supply chain than the middleman who's transporting it.
So Sarah, I think what I'm hearing you say is maybe one day as part of the sustainability campus, there could be a contractor brought in to handle styrofoam, but it's just
Yeah, well, and I think
not
that's
that way now, but maybe one day.
I think that's on the list, actually.
Yeah.
I honestly haven't looked at the landfill project in a few months now.
Yeah.
But it's you know, certainly the sustainability campus is intended to have, I mean, it's going to have composting. There's nowhere to publicly compost, right? So, you know, there's going to be that. And part of the point of calling it a sustainability campus is that there are going to be rentable units for like startup companies that are sustainably focused. So like people who might be working on new technology to use algae to break down a material or something, you know, was one example that they've used. So that's going to be a space, the sustainability campus on just at the landfill, to try to also support that innovation and potentially create new opportunities to get rid of new types of materials, while bringing in like these new contractors and new providers that we know that other counties are using and trying to pull all those pieces together and be the most comprehensive landfill we can be with all of those different opportunities for different material drop-offs and recycling.
Fantastic.
When is that gonna open again? What is the?
So the first part of it, which is going to be the composting, was supposed to be 2026. So I say soonish. So, and you know, and then beyond that, it's sort of a phased in project, to moving different elements over, fully transitioning from the existing landfill location, and then ultimately opening the campus where then the new kind of different innovation opportunities can come in.
Thank you.
Thank you. It's interesting. It's cool. So for future agenda, I'm thinking maybe looking over the recycling information from Pelletier, really understanding that a little bit better and seeing where we could help with some public education, public outreach.
Yeah, I'll get the full report from
yeah.
Brad too. You can share that broadly.
Thank you.
I think people would really welcome it. Should do that. That's one thing I'm looking for.
Yeah, yeah.
We're gonna have their attention.
My guess is that Pelletier has some really easy handouts already created that we could just disseminate.
They
And
have an
just,
app even.
I'm sure they have, right, just how to use,
were
it's
sent
basically,
it.
it's how education about how to use the tools that Pelletier already has is what
Yeah.
I'm guessing this will be all about. And then I'm hoping next month we can also just start looking at some strategic planning for the year. Even though it's February, people are thinking about their gardens, or thinking about pollinator gardens, or thinking about natural lawns, they're thinking about starting seeds and putting clover instead of Kentucky bluegrass on their yard and all that sort of thing. Also, I've had an email conversation with Brad and Thor about the future dashboards that I know if you go to the website, there's the 2021 sustainability dashboard. And they've been working really hard on the 22 dashboard, which just has been bottlenecked for a couple of reasons. But progress being made nonetheless. And let me see, I don't think there was, oh, the newsletter, we're gonna get some things in the newsletter, we talked about that already. And yeah, and just Thor will be emailing out information about the Sustain Dane event that we can all start to promote. The winter campaign, I've got materials here, if anyone, could you help me, where are these currently being made available? At the library only, is that right, or where else?
Schools.
Schools?
We give them, whenever we bring bookmarks, we leave one with
Yeah,
the business so that they can have few talking points.
very nice.
So
I've lost track of all the work that you guys have been doing.
yeah, I'll take some with me this evening.
Yeah. Okay. Is there anything else? If not, I'll take a motion.
I had one quick update. So this is going to be my last sustainability committee meeting. I'm deciding to step down from the committee. It conflicts very often, actually it would have conflicted tonight, but with my county board meetings, except for the fact that my meeting that would have been tonight got canceled. So I could call it to this one. I feel that there are others in the community who don't have the scheduling challenges that I have and more likely to attend more of these meetings. So I don't want to take a spot from somebody who can contribute more. And I've really enjoyed my 6 years on the sustainability committee, but gonna step down and give others opportunity. So thanks everybody for always being a fun committee. So
I feel like I've been with you for all of those 6 years and have truly enjoyed working with you, both on and off the committee, Sarah. So I hope our paths will continue to cross. I'm sure they will.
yes.
Thank you for all the time that you've put into this committee and these initiatives.
Yeah, 6 years of service is a lot. Thank you.
Yeah,
I miss
thanks,
you.
Sarah.
Very impactful.
Yeah.
Well, if you ever need anything from the county, if you want a presentation on the landfill or anything, let me know.
Okay, thank you, Sarah. Now do we have a motion to adjourn? Kristen's in a second. Second by Susan. All in favor, say aye.
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 Bye.
Meeting adjourns at 8:08. Thanks, everybody, for coming.
Good night, everybody.
Thank you.
Good night. Hey, you know what, Sarah? Why don't we just talk